Even if I left China, we would be looking over our shoulders for the rest of our lives. Adrian, I know we've just met, but I feel your intense pain. You seem a very good, open-hearted person. You've spent most of your life helping others. So I'm going to share the full recipe with you. But you must promise that after you have used it for your wife, you try to help as many others as possible. He then grabbed the napkin from the table, borrowed a pen from the waiter, and started writing furiously. When he was done, he thrust the formula in my hand. "There you go," he said. "Just follow these instructions exactly, and give it to your wife every evening before bed. I promise that in no time you're going to be amazed with the results." With that, we both stood up, I gave Chen a big thankful bear hug, and he wished me good night and started to leave. He stopped before reaching the door, turned around and chuckled, "Don't forget to warn Amy about the taste." Then he left. Over the next couple of weeks, I searched high and low for all of the ingredients on the list. They ended up costing hundreds of dollars, and it took days to prepare the tea to Chen's exact specifications. I had to extract the seeds and leaves, let them dry, grind them down, and measure them into exactly the right ratios. It was very time-intensive to create even just this small amount. But I reasoned that if it indeed worked for Amy as Chen promised, it would all be worth it. In the future, I could try buying the ingredients in larger quantities and have a professional natural formulator do the preparation for me, cutting down the costs and time it would take to prepare. Then we'd have a supply that could last us months. But first, I just wanted to see the results. It took a little while to convince Amy to try it, though. Because of all her past failures, she didn't believe anything could work. But in the end, she reluctantly agreed. So that night, I prepared the mixture for her. She took a sip and immediately started gagging. I literally had to beg her to drink the rest. She said it was the most disgusting thing she'd ever tasted, that it better work. The next morning, she told me that she'd slept better than she had in years, and had literally bounced out of bed with buckets of energy. By that same evening, something incredible had happened. Before she took her next tea, she stood on the bathroom scale and she'd lost 2 whole pounds. Still, Amy was worried that this would all be temporary and she would regain that lost weight quickly. But by the end of the second week, she had dropped another 10. And it didn't stop there, because after just 4 weeks, she had lost an incredible 67 pounds. She even went to her sister's house to step on her scale as she thought ours must be malfunctioning. She also couldn't believe her eyes when she looked in the mirror. Her stubborn love handles and belly bulge were disappearing. She started fitting into her favorite dresses that she hadn't worn in years. And her face looked younger and more radiant than it had in at least a decade. Her skin had improved, and her wrinkles and worry lines appeared to have flattened out completely. Her arms were tight again. Her hips were slender, her stomach flat. She looked hot. Every single trace of her pregnancy fat was gone. People kept asking for her secret. Men were turning their heads to check her out. Plus, she had so much more energy, even her hair seemed shinier, fuller, and thicker, just like in high school. The doctors were shocked. They couldn't believe a transformation like this was possible without strenuous exercise and a punishing diet. But the day that the change really sunk in for me, I came home from work and saw Amy in just a pair of leggings and a sports bra. She hadn't worn clothes this tight in decades. Her tiny, flat stomach was on display while she was confidently walking through the house. She looked absolutely incredible, and something stirred inside me that I hadn't felt in years. However, I was worried she might feel self-conscious, that if I tried to give her a hug, she'd shrug me off as had happened countless times before. But I couldn't help myself, so I wrapped my arms around her, pulling her close to me. It was then that I felt an ease within her that I hadn't experienced for a very long time. She melted, looked at me with a sparkle in her eyes, started to kiss me, and then grabbed my hand and led me to the bedroom. And we had the most amazing, passionate time of our lives. As we lay there glowing in each other's arms, giddy and love again in a way we hadn't been for a very long time, neither of us could believe it. We had done it. Amy was her old self again. The excess belly, arm, legs, and hip fat that had plagued her for so long was... Doesn't that sound fair? So go ahead and experience these amazing results for yourself. Don't delay. Click below to claim your package now.